This is Andrew for the Chosen Prime with a quick video review of Fans Toys FT-27 Spindrift, which is their take on a very small but nice Masterpiece version of G1 Seaspray. Here you can see his figure, and here you can see his fairly tiny box, especially for Fans Toys, just how small this box is. And for comparison, here's the box for Masterpiece Bumblebee. I know this one's got Spike in it, but you can see just how different and how tiny this little box is. In the box is the standard Fans Toys styrofoam insert. You do get the figure, you get a collectible card, you get a nice set of instructions here. As far as extra parts and accessories, he does come with an alternate head that we'll show off in a little bit. This one's a bit more square. He comes with a little hand pistol here. And he comes with a pair of little kind of emplacement guns here that he can use in both robot mode as well as his hovercraft mode. So let's go and take a closer look here at Spindrift. Taking a closer look here at Spindrift, you can see that he's fairly tiny, and he's actually scaled to kind of the Minibot Masterpiece scale. And I'll get to more comparisons in a little bit, but you can see here, essentially he's the same height as Masterpiece Bumblebee to kind of fit that Minibot scale. And so his overall height here is 4.5 inches to the top of his head there, and then 5 inches or so to where the little fan blade mechanism over his head exists. You can see here's his default face with the rounded head. The alternate head's got a more square head, and we'll put it on in just a moment. You can see that he's got some little metallic blue eyes in there. Fairly slim for a Seaspray, and also fairly clean overall. Definitely this figure is built to kind of match the scale and to be very poseable, and we'll show that off in just a moment. But you can see he's got his standard kind of boat shoes here. Again, very stiff, standard Fans Toys, great production. He's also quite heavy for his size. These feet here and his torso have some die cast in them. So he is 4 and 3/8 ounces. So he's a little hefty guy for the size that he is. As far as his articulation here, his head is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down. There also is a little transformation joint here where the platform for the head can move up and down a little bit, but you can see he's got some nice movement there. This platform here can move forward and back, so if you kind of want to have it angled back a little bit, you can. You can see that the rotors here spin freely. The arms can rotate. There's an outward hinge that can lift it come up quite a bit. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. The hands here can rotate, and then he's got one set of fingers here that are on a pin. He does have a waist swivel, nice and stiff. The legs here have a very stiff outward spread, forward and back. Pretty nice knee bend overall. Thigh swivel, upper thigh swivel. Lower foot swivel here, so you can move the foot separate, and then you can bend the foot ever so slightly and rotate it as well. And then there is an outward ankle tilt here. So we can, when we show up in a little second, he does have a whole lot of posability options for his being as small as he is. As far as his accessories, he does come with a little handgun here, and like other Masterpiece figures, it's just a matter of kind of getting it keyed into his fingers here. And you can hold it nice and securely. But then in addition, you come to these little tiny little smaller guns here. And so he's got these little peg holes on his lower arms here that you can just peg these in and install them there for extra weapons. You do have to remove them when you're transforming him, and there's a place for all the weapons in his hovercraft mode, but you can't add those extra weapons. Again, he does come with this alternate head. You can see it's a little more squared off. I think this is more kind of animation accurate, and this one is maybe a little bit more toy / UK comic, kind of just whatever kind of preference you like, and it's the same nice paint. Due to how the transformation joint, there's a transformation joint where the head slips down, I recommend, and pretty much really highly suggest you use the screwdriver to remove it. So we'll go ahead and we'll replace this head here. We'll just loosen this screw to get the head off the ball joint. And if you look here, there's actually a platform that when you transform it actually goes down. So if you were just to kind of, you could pull it up, pull the one head off, but then if you were to try to put the other head on, it would just kind of come, it would push it down, you wouldn't be able to attach the head. So let's go ahead and loosen the screw here. Get enough room so we can get it around that ball joint, and then close the head down here. And here is his alternate head. You can see it's a little bit more squared off. I think I prefer this head a little bit more. Seems to be a bit more Seaspray looking to me. Showing off Spindrift's posability options here. You can see again with those giant knee bends, multiple joints in the hands and the arms. So you can kind of move that little platform with the fans back. Really get him posed nicely with his weapon. And then you have the ankle tilts. You can get some pretty nice poses out of him. And again, with the joints, you can, even with his weight, you can have him hold himself up quite well. And again, standard Fans Toys kind of build quality here from this figure. This is a really cool looking version of Seaspray, and again, scales quite well with other Masterpiece figures. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy's transformation into his Hovercraft mode. So to transform Spindrift here, we first need to remove all of his weapons and put them aside. And then we'll come to his legs down here. These panels on the back of his feet, we want to fold them out to the sides of the boat. And then the feet will fold down, and then there's a joint in the knee that we want to push so that they go further down like that, so that essentially the leg collapses even further. We can peg the two halves of the hovercraft together like so. Come to his back, and these little panels on the back, we want to pull them to the sides and rotate down this panel. And the very first time you kind of do this next part is you lift outwards, and it'll unpeg this part from his torso here. Does a pretty nice job locking. And then this little bit here is a little bit tricky. You want to bend him forward like 45 degrees, and it'll free up kind of this part of his chest. And we have now from in his torso here, this little panel here, we want to fold this forward, and the knees or the waist will fold forward, and you collapse the legs even further. And then this piece, you can see how it kind of fits between the legs, and it'll eventually, that'll be its final resting point, but you'll need to kind of mess with the figure a little bit more before you do that. Make sure that the chest piece here kind of lifts up on a double hinge. And it can be a bit tricky to kind of get it lifted up, but there's actually a double hinge here. We want to lift up the torso piece so that it sits a bit higher like that. We can come to his head here and rotate it so that his eyes are facing downward, and then press down. And if you see this little yellow bit came down, so if the head ever gets stuck, you can kind of push up on that piece. And now we'll take the arms. We want to rotate or fold the arms against the sides, and make sure that the this peg hole here is upward, so the elbows are kind of bending inward, and make it so the fists are facing downward. So just make sure they're all rotated in this direction like that, ready to go into the legs. And if we come down here, there are some tiny little like tabs here that once we take the entire torso here, this section here will lock around those little two tabs. And so it's kind of a matter of getting everything lined up on the sides, and then push, and this will fully lock down. And we come and make sure that this chest piece folds down and kind of sits like this. And now these little panels that folded out, we want to fold these little pieces down on the outside. Rotate them in. And then if we look, there's now a tab that matches the part on his arm. And it's kind of just a matter of fitting it into place. And it can be a bit tight. Get that locked into that panel, but it'll hold the torso fully in together. So again, we'll come to this side and kind of fold in this panel underneath so that it sits like this, and then that tab again pegs in there. Fold these little pieces inward on each side, and raise up his, and that's his core hovercraft mode here. You can see very clean. And you make sure everything's pegged together nice and stiff. So if you want to, you can take his weapons and we want to split the legs again. And in between the yellow parts of his legs here, there's a little tab slot that matches parts of the handle here. So we want to just feed this through and then re-sandwich the legs together. And then we can take these little cannons here and the spots right by his chest here. You can peg in these little guns into that slot. And here is Spindrift in his Hovercraft mode. So let's take a closer look at the detail for this vehicle mode. Taking a closer look here at Spindrift's Hovercraft mode. You can see it's very evocative of G1 Seaspray. He's got some clear blue windows here in the front. Very nice, proportionate hovercraft overall. Does lock together nice and tight, fairly clean. Again, these rotors in the back can spin freely. And just, you know, a nice little overall version of Seaspray here. He's about 4¼ inches lengthwise from his back to his front, so he's a tiny little guy. But again, he scales really nice with other Masterpiece figures. And, you know, again, you can remove these weapons if you'd like to. So let's go ahead and take a look at comparisons here for Spindrift. Comparing Spindrift with a variety of Masterpiece Autobots. Here we've got Masterpiece Bumblebee, we've got BadCube's Grump, which is their Masterpiece Gears, and we've got Masterpiece Sideswipe. And here you can see how Fans Toys Spindrift here is kind of meant to match this Minibot scale here in his robot mode. And I think it works quite well to kind of match, you know, the smaller characters like they were in the G1 cartoon. And I think, again, the proportions overall, even with the bigger feet to kind of match the way the Bumblebee has it, and the leg kind of density, and just how kind of overall his proportions look, shows how well he matches other Masterpiece styled versions of Minibot characters. Comparing alternate modes, you can see here how Spindrift scales with these other figures, and how he is definitely a Minibot, a Masterpiece Minibot. Since he's the same overall length here as Masterpiece Bumblebee, so he looks nice with the other smaller bots. And to me, you know, as far as cartoon accuracy, I think he scales well with you know, the bigger bots as well as the smaller bots. And comparing Spindrift and Robot Mode with the kind of the golden standard of Masterpiece Transformers, here we've got MP Optimus Prime. And then here, just again, is another Minibot. This is BadCube's Brawny, or their version of Masterpiece Brawn. You can kind of see how their version of Seaspray from Fans Toys kind of matches up with Prime and Brawny. And again, it looks nice amongst other Autobots. It's a nice, good scale to kind of put this version of Seaspray alongside the other Masterpiece Autobots. And vehicle mode comparisons for these figures. And you see again how he stacks up to Prime and Brawny. Another nice, small Masterpiece Minibot here with Spindrift. So Spindrift here on the left is just one of several different Masterpiece styled versions of Seaspray that are coming our way. Here on the right is ToyWorld Wavebreak, and these are just the first two. There's also X-Transbot's Neptune, and then there's got Ace Collectibles Trident. And so there's 4 Masterpiece Seasprays that we know of so far, but here we can kind of compare these two. You can see how much larger Wavebreak is here than Spindrift. And, you know, core differences between the two are, you know, Spindrift here is definitely a lot more poseable, but then Wavebreak is a little bit larger in his vehicle mode as well as his robot mode. And then, you know, the build quality is a little bit better here on Spindrift, but, you know, Wavebreak here is just slightly cheaper than Spindrift. As far as like kind of size for these guys, as far as we can tell, Spindrift is the smallest of the Seasprays so far. Wavebreak is kind of the next size up. We don't have an idea of how large X-Transbot's Neptune is. And then Trident, the one from Ace Collectibles, is practically a Minibot or regular Autobot car size. He's quite taller, even taller here than Wavebreak. But here you can kind of see, you know, again, the differences between these two versions of the characters. You do get a pair of kind of these rifles with Wavebreak, and you can see the store on their back, his back. He does have light piping. And he does have die-cast as well. He's 6 ounces, 6 5/8 ounces, so he's heavy as well. And then here you got Spindrift again, who had the gun, the miniguns, and the alternate head. Comparing hovercrafts between the two, you see how much larger Wavebreak is than Spindrift. Overall, I think the Spindrift kind of matches a more G1 toy look overall compared to Wavebreak. And I kind of like the colors, the different way the windows actually stand out a little bit better than they do here in Wavebreak. They both do have the ability to have their weapons in this mode. And here are the two of them with their weapons showing. Spindrift, of course, you can attach the weapons, and then on Wavebreak here, he's got these little guns that can flip out, and you can have them shooting out of the front of the vehicle here. Again, nice little bonus. Both are nice versions of Masterpiece Seaspray figures. And a further comparison for the two Seasprays here with other Autobots, you can see again how Spindrift and Wavebreak kind of match to Prime, Bumblebee, and Sideswipe. Again, it's kind of like you have personal preference on which one kind of looks the best to you so far with these guys. I think in comparison, I prefer Spindrift over Wavebreak here, but Wavebreak is also still quite nice, and again, slightly cheaper than Spindrift. But either one looks great alongside other Masterpiece Autobots. And alternate mode comparisons here, so you can see how Spindrift and Wavebreak stack up in their vehicle modes. And again, you can see how Spindrift kind of matches the Minibot scale, whereas Wavebreak here is a little bit larger to maybe kind of be a little bit more accurate as far as his vehicle mode is concerned. And one other final thing is that Wavebreak is a little bit easier to transform than Spindrift is. And one final quick comparison here for size. I don't have Titan's Return Seaspray, but here you can see Spindrift here next to Titan's Return Legend Class Brawn and Deluxe Class Cup. And again, just to kind of give you an idea as how large this version of Seaspray kind of stacks up to other characters, to give you an idea again just how tall he is in his robot mode. And here you can see how Spindrift scales in its Hovercraft mode to both Legends Class and Deluxe Class figures, just to give you an idea of how large he is in this mode. Some final thoughts here for Fans Toys FT-27 Spindrift, or their take on a Masterpiece G1 Seaspray. As you've seen through this review, it's a nice small little figure from Fans Toys. It matches the Minibot scale so far from previous figures like Masterpiece Bumblebee and BadCube Grump. And this is another great solid release from Fans Toys. Nice bits of die-cast, nice posability, nice engineering, good paint, and just overall, you can see how well it works, in Autobot collections just like this one. Spindrift here, we hope to have the rest of our stock of Spindrift sometime next week. If you want to add Spindrift here to your collection, I do recommend getting a pre-order in. Alternatively, if you'd like to get Wavebreak here, Wavebreak is also available from the Chosen Prime, a little bit cheaper, and if you want a kind of a bigger version of Seaspray, Wavebreak here is an option. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy here with Spindrift. He's a really nice version of Masterpiece Seaspray, so take care.